Hello, Penguini here, and before I start this video, I just want to say I'm trying to use my phone instead of my normal headset as my mic, because I think it actually might have better quality, which is a little strange, but whatever works. So anyways, on with the video. So, my first Halo game was Halo Reach, so I missed a great portion of the Halo story. I missed what many consider to be the best games in the series, so I've been going back and replaying the older games. So far I played Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST, which are out of order, but whatever. And those two games blew my expectations away and were incredible, so I figured Halo 2 would do the same. Unfortunately, I was wrong, and Halo 2 is probably the most painful Halo campaign experience I've ever had, which is incredible considering I've played Halo 5. This video is going to be pretty unstructured, more of a rant than an actual review of Halo 2. I literally finished all 15 missions like a week ago, so everything is very fresh in my mind. I'm just going to go through the game chronologically and say stuff as I go. So starting off in the first mission, which I believe is Cairo Station, there's like two before that, but they are literally just cutscenes, I believe. Halo 2 is immediately more difficult than any other Halo game I've played. While I have no idea if it's actually true, it seems your health bar is much lower than any other Halo game. This isn't helped by the fact that the health bar physically takes up so little space on the screen, like a placebo effect. It makes you think there's less health, so it feels like there is. It's important to note I play all my Halo games on heroic difficulty, so that's what I'm basing my experiences on. Your health bar is so small, I'm convinced you have less HP in Halo 2 than you do in Halo 3 ODST, which makes no sense lore-wise, but whatever. It doesn't help Master Chief's strength has also been nerfed as well. The Chief's punches in the game mean literally nothing. They're more like slaps. I think it takes like 3 punches to kill a grunt, which is ridiculous. I believe it takes like 1 in other games, maybe 2. Regardless, besides being way weaker, and the game plays like any other Halo game, and the first 10 missions are actually really good and about what I expected. And while I've been mostly negative, I'll get my one positive out of the way. Halo 2's story is one of the best in the series. The Arbiter is a great addition, and I know people hated him in the past, but looking back on it, the story just wouldn't be as good without the Arbiter and that view on the Covenant, and I'm surprised Bungie had the guts to do something so bold with the story. Without the story, this campaign might be the worst in the series, maybe better than Halo 5, but that's about it. Anyways, the first 10 missions are pretty good. I hear Jackal snipers are a literal nightmare on legendary difficulty because they just one-shot you instantly, but I didn't play that, so I never really noticed it. They were still annoying though. All the problems stem from the last 6 missions: Sacred Icon, Quarantine Zone, Gravemind, Uprising, High Charity, and The Great Journey. These god-awful missions make up almost half of the game and are an absolute hell on earth. Starting with my least favorite of the 6, Sacred Icon and Icon. What is an Icon? Sacred Icon and Quarantine Zone. These missions consist of fighting the Flood over and over and over and over in very similar, almost copy-pasted rooms. I was getting lost all the time on these missions, always getting turned around and accidentally backtracking. They're Sentinels, which are new enemies, which with interesting designs, but they're literally just more powerful bullet sponges, so they aren't very fun to fight. And the bigger Sentinels, I don't know what their name are, maybe Guardians, I'm not sure. They have giant shields, which just makes them more annoying, and they fly away. You can't even melee them with the energy sword. The Flood have almost the same issue, being bullet sponges, and seem to only be affected by half the guns in the game. The gun I'm thinking of is a plasma rifle. For some reason, some of the Flood felt like they were immune to the plasma rifle, or took so many shots it was effectively worthless. But maybe I'm just horrible at the game, I'm not sure. These enemies aren't just hard to kill, but they're able to kill you almost instantly too, and keep in mind this is only heroic. While the Sentinels have pretty dodgeable attacks, the Floods will devastate you up close, with some of them having what seem to be instant kill melees and other Flood carrying UNSC weapons. Now, Flood carrying UNSC weapons sounds pretty cool on paper, until you realize that the Covenant carrying plasma weapons actually has a purpose. All the Covenant have purposely projectile weapons that are easy to dodge to make it fair to the player. The Flood carrying UNSC hit scan weapons completely breaks that. If you don't know what hit scan means, it's basically all the UNSC weapons that fire bullets. When you get someone in your crosshair and you pull the trigger, it instantly hits them, unlike a plasma bolt, which you can dodge in midair. Shotgun flood, instant kill. Rocket flood, instant kill. Sniper flood, practically instant kill. Getting killed by an enemy you didn't even see instantly is just ridiculous. It gets even worse on Quarantine Zone, where the flood are given vehicles. Like, seriously, Covenant vehicles are fine, but who gave the flood a Scorpion? Who okayed that? Honestly, that one was so ridiculous, I forgave the developers, because at least it's funny, you know? You know what isn't funny? Flood and Gauss Hogs. Like, someone at Bungie made the conscious decision to give the flood the Warthog that instantly kills in a second, rather than the two more easily dodgeable Warthogs. Honestly, I don't even know if you're supposed to fight the enemies in Quarantine Zone. I just rushed past them in a ghost and hoped that the flood AI manning the Gauss Hog was merciful on my poor soul. I actually stopped playing this campaign for like a week and stopped in the middle of Quarantine Zone because it was so frustrating and I got lost. So I completed the first 10 missions and I took like a week break and actually finished the campaign later. Next up is Grave Mine. First off, when you spawn in the mission, it's possible to get murdered before your HUD even loads in. I had like 5 attempts before I made it to cover fast enough. The rest of the mission is just as disappointing, as the brutes in this game are significantly worse than in Halo 3. They are bullet sponges, and their rage mode is just annoying to deal with and very deadly. But I mean, that's to be expected, as this game does come before Halo 3. In general, I feel like any mission where you fight in predominantly Covenant architecture is just okay. It's not my favorite location, but that's pretty subjective, and High Charity does make a nice backdrop. Uprising is a mission I actually have no problems with, just the brutes again aren't that fun to fight, and it's just a very basic mission. Okay, back to the bad stuff with High Charity. We're back to the Flood, which is instantly worse. They carry UNSC weapons again, and now you fight them along with the brutes, so that's a double whammy right there. There was this one section where you ride up an elevator that I'll try to show on screen that I literally attempted like 30 times. I'd memorized where all the enemies were, but I still couldn't do it. It was literally a medley of death with Jackal snipers, brute honor guards, and sniper flood on top of it. Whoever invented sniper flood, I hope you are having a step on some Legos, rotten hell, I don't even know. Like that was a horrible decision. Now, you might be thinking I'm just like a bitch who can't take difficulty in games, and that may be true, but I played my fair share of somewhat difficult games. Jedi Fallen Order, Hollow Knight, and even Halo Reach, which I beat on Legendary, come to mind. All of these games were difficult and I had to retry them many times. The difference between them and Halo 2 is at least I had fun playing the former games. Halo 2 just wasn't fun. Unlike the other Halos, there was no room to experiment with guns. You were stuck using precision or power weapons the whole game. In Halo Reach and 3, you could use a plasma rifle, for example, and still manage through most sections. I can't even imagine trying to play these missions with just a plasma rifle. Without the carbine and beam rifle in the last 6 missions, I don't even know if I would have completed them. Halo relies on its complex sandbox to be fun, and Halo 2 on Heroic really just dissuades the use of any guns that aren't the meta and allow you to fire from a range, because getting close up means practically instant death, and your melee being worthless doesn't do you any favors. Anyways, we still have one more level to talk about, and unfortunately Halo 2 does not end with a bang. Well, the campaign story does, but not the gameplay. Well, I mean, it does end with a bang, but not like a cool explosion that you walk away from, but more like a bomb going off in your face and melting your face off. The Great Journey starts pretty normal, with a tank section and some fighting brutes, which wasn't that bad. The mission takes a nosedive during the Banshee section. I don't know why, but the Banshee in Halo 2 feels so fragile. It's like a glass cannon. I was getting destroyed by the turrets and the specters on the ground so much I resorted to getting out of my Banshee and just using a beam rifle to snipe the brutes in the turrets and the ones manning the specter. I'm not sure if I could have done the section from inside my Banshee the entire time, which is pretty bad considering it was probably meant to be a Banshee section. Luckily, there's one final part of the mission, where maybe the game can redeem itself. Ooh, a boss battle. Halo doesn't usually do those. Maybe it'll be interesting. Well, it isn't. You shoot Tartarus until he turns to Swiss cheese. He's the ultimate bullet sponge, which honestly fits after everything we've been through. His attacks aren't interesting and easy to avoid. You can literally just jump between the little cover walls and he can't hit you. The fight is prolonged by the fact that you have to wait for Sergeant Johnson to shoot Tartarus with a beam rifle before doing damage. I honestly don't know how you would have figured this out. I just googled how the fight worked, but if you were a kid playing in 2004, how would you even know how to beat Tartarus? I guess if you just shot him enough, he would eventually die by coincidence, but the whole fight seemed a little confusing, and there was very little indication that you needed a beam rifle. Perhaps it was mentioned in some dialogue I missed, but I sure didn't hear it, and spent my first few attempts just shooting at Tartarus doing no damage, which is unfortunate since there is no indication that Tartarus is even taking damage. You just have to hope he dies after unloading 100 carbine mags into him. In the end, Halo 2 was extremely disappointing, especially after playing Halo 3 and ODST before it. Now, in all honesty, this is sort of to be expected. Halo 2 is from 2004, made a little over a year before I was even born. It also had a very troubled development and probably wasn't tested enough for the campaign to be very balanced. Bungie certainly did their damnedest to make the campaign as good as possible, so no shame on them. Regardless, the game doesn't hold up today, and not even a great story and great remastered graphics can cover up horrid gameplay that restricts players to only the meta way to play, which is the unfortunate task of sitting behind a corner and praying to God the Flood aren't carrying a shotgun.